Greetings, and welcome to Episode 3 of Ray Reads Just for You. I'm your host, Raymond Steers. It's Saturday, February 5th, 2022, and outside the sun is shining and the birds are singing their global warming death song. Today's letter comes from Erskine MacGavin from the village of Crovie in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, who describes himself as a rather tall lad, average-looking, dark, messy hair, with rather poor handwriting. Erskine writes, Mr. Steers, I hope my letter finds you in good health. My passion, and thanks to the current times, my job, is woodworking. I have a small workshop that I hope to grow one day to better fit both myself and my tools. I've walked this earth since 1986, and I was curious if you could read, just for me, something out of a book that started its journey that same year. Thank you, and have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and greetings from Scotland. Well, Erskine, I must apologize in advance, but after a very thorough scan of my library, I sadly do not possess any books written in 1986. However, I have pulled from the shelves for you a wonderful little gem with a bright green cover that, while written in 1970 and later made into a great film in 1973, was reprinted in the exact year as you yourself came into this world, indeed, 1986. Further, this book went on to inspire a generation of writers and filmmakers, and although it only rings in at 183 pages, its artistic repercussions are still being felt. This is just for you, Erskine, starting on page 43. Samuel T. Partridge, having heard his wife and children descend the stairs, their bathrobes swishing on the oriental runner, and the little girls discussing nursery school, his son murmuring about breakfast, showered lazily and shaved. He dressed himself and went downstairs for eggs and coffee. In the family room beyond the kitchen, he saw his children standing close together, next to the Boston rocker. His wife sat in the Boston rocker. All of their faces were blank. 3 men sat on the couch. They wore blue nylon windbreakers over their upper bodies and nylon stockings pulled down over their faces. Each of them held a revolver in his hand. "Daddy, Daddy," his son said. "Mr. Partridge," the man nearest him said. His features were frighteningly distorted by the nylon. "You are the first vice president of the First Agricultural and Commercial Bank and Trust Company. We are going to the bank, you and I and my friend here. My other friend will stay here with your wife and children to make sure nothing happens to them. Nothing will happen to them, and nothing will happen to you if you do what I tell you. If you don't, at least one of you will be shot. Understand?" Sam Partridge swallowed both his rage and the sudden gout of phlegm that rose into his throat. "I understand," he said. "Get your coat," the first man said. Sam Partridge kissed his wife on the forehead. He kissed each of his children. He said, "Don't be afraid. Everything will be all right. Do what Mummy tells you. It'll be all right." Tears ran down his wife's cheeks. Now, he said. "They don't want to hurt us. It's just the money they want." She started in his arms. "He's right," said the first man. "We don't get any kicks at all from hurting people. It's the money. Nobody does anything silly. Nobody gets hurt. Let's go to the bank, Mr. Partridge." In the driveway behind the house there was a nondescript blue Ford sedan. 2 men sat in the front seat. Each of them wore a nylon stocking over his head and a blue windbreaker. Sam Partridge got into the back seat. The men from the house sat on each side of him. The driver said, "You sleep late, Mr. Partridge. We've been waiting a long time." "Sorry to inconvenience you," Sam Partridge said. The man who talked in the house took charge of the conversation. "I know how you feel," he said. "I understand. You're a brave man. Don't try to prove it. The man you're talking to has killed at least 2 people that I know about. I don't say what I've done. Just keep calm and be sensible. It isn't your money. It's all insured. We want the money. We don't want to hurt anybody. We will, but we don't want to. Are you going to be reasonable?" Sam Partridge said nothing. "I'm going to gamble that you're going to be reasonable," the spokesman said. He took a blue silk kerchief from his jacket pocket and handed it to Sam Partridge. "I want you to fold this and put it over your eyes for a blindfold. I'll tie it for you, then sit down on the floor of the car here." The Ford began to move as Sam Partridge squirmed down between the seats. "Don't try to see anything," the spokesman said. "We have to take these stockings off until we get to the bank. When we get there, you just be patient until we get dressed up again. We'll go in the back door the way you always do. You and I will stay together. Don't be concerned about my friends. Just tell your people not to unlock the front door and not to pull the curtains. We will wait until the time lock opens. My friends will take care of the vault. We will come back to this car when we've finished. You will explain to your people that they are not to call the police. You will tell them why they are not going to call the police. I know it's uncomfortable, but you will ride back to your house the same way you are now. We will get my friend at your house. When we get a safe distance away, we will let you go. Right now, we don't plan to hit you on the head, but we will if you make us. Otherwise, we don't plan to hurt you or anybody else, unless somebody fucks up. What you said was right. We want the money. Understood?" Sam Partridge said nothing. "You make life hard for me," the man said. "Since I have the pistol, that's not a good idea. Do you understand?" "I understand," Sam Partridge said. In the bank, Mrs. Greenan sobbed quietly as Sam Partridge explained the situation. And there you have it, Erskine. I'm sure you were as educated and entertained by listening to this short dip into the literary pool as much as I have been excited by rereading it. That's all we have time for today. I'm your host, Raymond Steers, and this has been Ray Reads Just for You.